Kia ora, Lara here, and Scraptember Day 11 is all about a sketch created by Christy of Christy's Beautiful Life, so you can check her out on social media, Instagram, and here on YouTube as well. So this sketch is a really nice sketch in that I loved the circles down the sides. The circles have been cut in half and then just sort of layered piece by piece, but not side by side down the side, and you'll see that as I bring the page together. Now I'm trying to keep this as low tech as possible, or you could say that I'm being lazy in that I didn't feel like setting up bits of paper on the Cricut or popping them through my close to my heart die cutting machine. So I just decided to use the inside of the foam tape that I'm using here, and on the back of the pattern that I'm wanting I drew these circles with a pencil, and then I go through and I just cut around each one just with scissors, not aiming for perfection. The photo that I'm documenting was a series of stones. They were nice smooth stones that you could walk along on your way from the hut to the natural hot pools up the top of the at Welcome Flat, up the top of the Copeland track. So you can sort of see those stones on the pathway there, and I just felt that this photo worked really nicely with this sketch, just because of those nice round stones and that leading lines of that pathway. So that's sort of where I was going with my choice of photo and the way that I'm putting together Christy's sketch. Now her sketch was a 12 by 12 layout. I am doing the 8.5 by 11, which I've been working away at over the last few couple of weeks, and slowly catching up. Got a bit behind, got a bit tied up with some other stuff that's been going on, and it's good to be getting back into it and slowly catching up. I'm not sure, maybe another weekend and I might be able to get a few more done so that I am fully caught up, but we shall see how I go. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the Scraptember challenges and ideas that come out, and I've got ideas in my head, and I've actually gone ahead and prepped all of the pages so they're ready, almost ready, pretty much to put together. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing them and finding that space and time sometimes to sit down and do it, so that you can see how the circles sort of they're alternating almost down the sides there. So I am just reasonably randomly trying to place these, but trying to space them out so they're not too close together or too many of the same pattern near each other, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so I'm just popping these in sort of places and working out how it's going to fit or how it's going to come together. And you can see me there with the one in my left hand, just sort of tucking it in to make sure that I'm placing these circles sort of the right gap and that they look kind of okay where I've put them. So there, just the last one there, and so there's a few spares there, so that's okay. I am going to work on getting them stuck down and pulling the page together. So I'm just going to use I thought I'd use the liquid glass, but I end up finding some blue Tombow, just because it's just paper to paper. I didn't feel I needed the fine tip of the liquid glass, and I'm just going to work on sticking each of these down. So the path that led to the hot pools out on the Copeland track, the stones often, when you're tramping, you don't want to bring too much stuff. So you do have some hut shoes and stuff like that, but you don't necessarily have what we call jandals here in New Zealand, which are also known as thongs, I think, in other countries. They just easily slip on. The other thing would be scuffs and stuff like that, but you try not to take too much with you. So it's actually really nice having these stones that you can walk barefoot along without hurting your feet as you make your way to the hot pools. So really appreciated those stones as we did this walk a few times. So I'm going to do most of this sticking off screen now that I've sort of got that one row done, that you can see what I'm sort of doing there and how I'm putting that together. So I've got them all stuck down, and now I'm going to add some splatters. So in the sketch that Christy had done, she had some gorgeous gold looking splatters. Now I've tried to pull in some tones that I felt were in the photograph. So I've pulled in some colours that I think fitted the colours that were in there and the colours of the pools that we were heading towards. So it just adds a really nice subtle look using the acrylic gloss sprays just by taking the lid off and just sort of tapping the bits and pieces on there. So now it's time to put together my photo mat while I let those splatters dry a little bit. And yeah, so I'm just going to stick this photo onto some White Daisy cardstock, and then I'll pull out a few other papers just to give a few more layers to it. So the photo does stand out quite well, but it just needs a little bit more to add a bit more interest. The original sketch had 3 photos or 3 main pieces there, but I have just stuck with the one because that's all I needed to tell my story. But I've just kept the main idea of the layout together. So now I've put that sort of wood grainy border around there. Happy with how that's sitting. I don't want too much to cover the gorgeous little circle shapes that are there, and wanted them to still be a key part of the feature. You'll notice the sunlight streaming in behind me there. I hadn't thought ahead for that bit. It was a beautiful sunny afternoon, and yeah, so apologies for that. I do pull the curtain after a little bit, but it was such a shame to shut out that beautiful sunshine. So put the photo here, and I've added a little bit of foam tape underneath just to give it a little bit more lift, because if you look in the original sketch, Christy has sort of some floral pieces at some different points on the page, and so I'm just going to have a play around with those possibilities, and also having a look at my lettering choices. So these were the black chipboard alpha, and I had to sort of think what my title was going to be. It was almost one of those pages where I didn't necessarily feel it needed a title. It could have just had some journaling, but never mind. I did come up with a bit of a title that I stick down on there, and yeah, so that's all sort of coming together quite well. Now, it's good that I've got a few sets of the chipboard alpha because I'm already running out of some of the letters for the path. So the T's, for example, seem to have gone really quickly, so I might need to start Googling some titles that don't use some letters. I remember years ago when I was first scrapbooking, that we sort of were always trying to find titles, and there was this group that I was part of called NZ Scrappers, and still in contact with some of them, which is really cool, but that we sort of had, there was like places you could go to type in the letters that were left, and it would come up with possible titles you could create from those letters that were left. So I might need to investigate and see if that still exists, or if there's something along those lines. So I have chosen here some florals. These were ones that are part of the digital collections by Close to My Heart, and I have printed and cut them using the Cricut. So I sort of had to flatten them to print them looking like this, because they were sort of designed, I think, to cut out layers of cardstock, but I just flattened the image and then sent it to print and cut, and so I printed it and then put it into the Cricut, and the Cricut cut around them for me. So quite a fun, simple technique, and just adding some journaling along the lines of those nice sort of smooth stones for walking along. Here's some close-up shots of this layout, and I hope that you have been inspired to create. Perhaps you want to give this sketch by Christy a bit of a go too. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and hope if you've enjoyed this that you will subscribe. Thanks to all my recent new subscribers. Check the playlist below for the other Scraptember layouts over this month. Thanks heaps for watching.